or send $19.95 plus $4.50 shipping to Ray Stevens, P.O. Box 8250, Atlanta, Georgia 30306. That's 1-800-257-1257.
This is CNN.
CNN Overnight continues. I'm Brian Christie in Atlanta. In the news, NASA is seeking Mother Nature's cooperation to launch the Space Shuttle Columbia Thursday. Meteorologists predict only a 40% chance of acceptable weather for the scheduled noontime launch. The 13-day mission calls for the 7-member crew to perform biological research on organisms, including shrimp, wasps, and worms. Weather permitting, CNN plans live coverage of the Shuttle Columbia's launch. That's at 12:07 p.m. Eastern Time. Ross Perot's feud with the Republican Party is intensifying. The unofficial presidential candidate appeared on CNN's Larry King Live Wednesday night and got into a very heated exchange with GOP Party Chairman Rich Bond. Bond called in demanding that Perot produce evidence to back up claims that Republicans are waging a dirty tricks campaign. You can see it all for yourself coming up in just a moment. CNN Overnight continues now with a replay of Larry King Live. Watch this.
You guys don't understand what tough is. This is Mickey Mouse tossed salad.
Welcome to Larry King Live. Tonight, Ross Perot meets trouble head-on. As the critical press rolls in, the undeclared candidate takes on all comers in his first wide-open press conference. How did he do? Can opponents still call him scary? Now, here's Larry King.
Good evening from Washington. One note, tomorrow night the special guest is the Attorney General of the United States, William Barr. William Barr, Attorney General, tomorrow night on Larry King Live. Ross Perot credits his backers with changing American politics. But today's campaign news sounded pretty familiar. Mean, down and dirty, and negative, negative, negative. Perot compared Republican attacks on him to Hitler-style propaganda. White House spokesman Marlon Fitzwater shot back that Mr. Perot's paranoia knows no bounds. At a rally in Annapolis, Maryland, Perot went after what he called the dirty tricks crowd, assaulting his character, and he charged both major parties are in a state of panic. Within hours, Republican Party Chairman Rich Bond was describing Perot's performance with words like scary, bizarre, and erratic. An angry, bitter day, even by the standards of American presidential politics. But you might conclude this. It proves that Ross Perot is being taken very seriously. The still unannounced candidate joins us here in Washington. As we mentioned earlier, it all started here that night, February 20th, 1992. Before we move into all of the events of the day, looking back at that night, did you expect to happen what happened?
No, I did not.
You left here after saying, if I get on the ballot in all 50 states, did you even think, what did you think would happen?
I think I said in the last part of the show that I don't believe this will happen because it's too complex.
Right.
Now, never underestimate the creativity and the ingenuity of the American people if there's something they want done.
No phone number was given out.
No. Within 5 weeks, that organized in all 50 states. One state after another has turned in an unbelievable number of petitions. For example, California had to turn in 135,000. They turned in 1,400,000. People who are students of politics say they've just never seen anything like the outpouring of support and organization at the grassroots level, or the crowds that show up at the rallies when the petitions are turned in. These are huge, multi-thousand crowds.
Okay, on reflection, we began that night. That was the first question I asked you.
Yes.
You said no.
Right.
You said I'm not temperamentally suited for it.
Right.
You said you wouldn't accept a party's nomination, and you set that one condition which none of us expected to happen. Looking back now, self-reflectively, what happened? What do you think happened out there?
Well, I know what happened because we have so much contact with the American people. This has everything to do with their concerns about where their country is that they love very much, and where their country's going, and what kind of country their children will live in. They are sick and tired of having a government that comes at them from Washington as opposed to a government that comes from them, which it is supposed to do. Put all together, they decided to reassert their role as owners of the country, and I am sort of incidental into this whole process. This whole thing is driven by something much more important than me.
The people.
the people.
But how did they do it? I mean, how did you get Kansas organized? Who took care of Montana?
Beautiful. It's beautiful. See, the first thing I got is calls from all these political professionals saying that this couldn't happen. People couldn't do it. Within 5 weeks, they'd done it. Then the next round of calls I got, it says, you must have the worst state leadership you could ever find because these people had to self-organize. You should meet these people. They picked wonderful, strong leaders. They organized themselves, put together their plans. Anytime they turn in petitions, there are these giant rallies where sometimes up to 20,000 people show up. There are parades. Today we came in from the Chesapeake Bay on fishing boats, and this was all set up by the local people, organized by them. And it's just a tremendous example of their creativity, their initiative, if they want something done.
Okay, Ross, did you expect to happen what has now happened? The backbiting, the stories, and we'll get into them, your comments, their comments, Fitzwater, you, Bond, the president, vice president, Quayle, a little bit of Clinton, but not much of Clinton.
Wait just a minute. Don't put me in this. I said I do not want to engage in personalities. We've got one group whose whole life is in character assassination and personality distortion. There's nothing I can do about that. I just ignored it as long as I could, and finally I felt that I had to answer their specific, untrue allegations. That's all I've done. I would like to go back to the serious issues that face the country. But we have this one group over here that has a huge organization that does nothing but stir this stuff up. And finally, when it gets too silly, you have to respond to it.
Ross, is your background fair game? Aren't they correct?
Excuse me. My true background is fair game. This scenario that they construct that is not my background has nothing to do with anything except fiction.
With the Washington Post story Sunday, false? Bob Woodward was wrong?
No, wait just a minute. Let's take the Washington Post, all this thing that I'm...
Because that broke in the Post, not in the Republican Party.
But let's just take... Well, they all break in some newspaper, Larry.
True.
You understand how the system works. But the point being, I never investigated the president's children. I have told this story several times today. People brought me information claiming that there was some involvement with shipments of arms and what have you to Nicaragua. I told the vice president as one father to another and dropped it.
This was Vice President Bush.
Vice President Bush. I mentioned to him in private. I would have never brought it up. You'll notice I sure didn't bring this up. I just considered an odd thing. If someone told me that one of your children was driving too fast, I would tell you on a personal basis and figure that you would want to know. It was done in that spirit. That's it.
Did he thank you?
Yes. No. He as the record. I would never have gotten into this, but he wrote me a nice letter in longhand in 1986, thanking me for informing him. That's all I ever did. Right. Now then, they, not I, cooked all this up to an investigation of the Sons, and then they've got these stunts on television where he needs to count to 10 and all that sort of thing. They know what happened. I know what happened. And this is all part of what I call fiction writing, which has nothing to do with the problems that face the country and the solutions to those problems.
But it would lend people to think that you and the vice president, now president, must have been pretty good friends. Someone came to you with information about him. You called him. You got an audience right away. You must have known him a long time, fellow Texan.
Oh, we go back. I think I met him for the first time in 1969. Anytime I have ever had an opportunity to be helpful or supportive to him or his family, I have always tried to be. And
he to you? He been a good friend to you?
Yes. I mean, as far as it's just once this activity started, then all of this recreation and reconstruction started, but it doesn't stick and it doesn't add up and it's inconsistent.
The talk in Washington is that there's something deep-seated between Ross Perot and George Bush, and it's personal, and something happened. I'm giving you general, table talk.
Sure.
Something goes back a long way we don't know about. Anything to that?
Does anybody say when it happened?
No, I'm just giving
you... It's fascinating. Right. I mean, well, the point is, from my point of view, the only thing you have ever heard me say is fine man, fine family. I have never and don't want to be a part of this whole activity, but this drives, this is their way of trying to get rid of what they consider a nuisance. And the nuisance is a person that a huge number of the American people want to see on the ballot. And the ultimate nuisance was when the polls showed that I was in a competitive position with him, and I guess everybody figured, well, we have to bring out the Orkins man and just get rid of the pest. So that's the real issue. I mean, we're trying to create an issue that doesn't exist. The real issue is this just politics as it exists in America.
Now, that was a handwritten long letter. That was 6 years ago.
No, in December 86.
Oh, 5.5 years ago.
December 86, that was a handwritten letter thanking me. And it's just, from my point of view, again, I would never have mentioned the letter.
Have you heard from
I would
him?
never have mentioned any of this until all of this pops up this week. Now, Larry, this is an interesting week. This is the week they had carefully orchestrated for weeks to take me out.
Because you were supposed to announce this Saturday.
They thought that I would announce on my birthday, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And if you look at all the events that are scheduled to occur this week, that you'd say that they are trying to get the job done, you'd conclude, well, this is the week that was supposed to be. And so far, I think, you know, they better come up with a new plan.
Have you heard from the president since 1986? Since he's been president?
Yes.
By mail?
Well, certainly by mail. And
do you have anything?
Again, and the only reason I would discuss this is to show that this fiction they're trying to create is soft at best. You follow me? It's just kind of soft at best. Now, here's another one right here. Now, I don't solicit these letters. I didn't solicit the first one. I didn't solicit this one.
This is January 4th, 1990. I'll show it. Dear Ross, Brent Scowcroft told me of your generous thoughts on getting Noriega out of Nuncio's residence and also of your offer to help with Panama's economic recovery. I am glad the Noriega matter is now resolved, but I wanted to thank you for caring so much. Your offer regarding rebuilding that destroyed housing will, I am sure, be well received. Once again, you've shown the Perot spirit of unselfishness when there's trouble or when Americans' lives are at stake. Most sincerely and gratefully, George. Now I'll show that to the audience. What had you offered to do for Panama?
No, the letter is not quite right in that sense. They called me and asked me if I would. I said yes. And this had to do with immediate relief to the people. There was some delay in getting the government funds available. I said, certainly, if you want me to. And then in a few days, the government funds became available. They didn't need me to, and so it was just one of those things. Well, again, I didn't seek a thank you note or any recognition, didn't seek anything. But this, I think, is an indication of the fact that any time he ever called me, or his people ever called me, I responded.
Well, what does this make you think of him now, then?
Nothing. I think it's politics.
Nope. You don't take it personally?
I don't. Look, I was taught from childhood never to be negative or bitter toward other people, and I will not be that now. I will continue to take the position. He is a fine man, has a fine family, and I'm not going to get into personal attacks. Now, in terms of issues and things that we may agree on, but that's different. See, that's valid.
We'll be right back with Ross Perot. We'll, of course, include your phone calls. We want to touch a couple of other bases. There was a press conference which CNN aired live today, and he's made some other appearances. We want to touch some other issues as well and go to your calls, of course, because you count on this show. Don't go away.
Who was in charge of anti-terrorism? Vice President George Bush. All right, let's just keep the music going. Who was in charge of deregulation, savings and loans, banks, so on and so forth? Vice President George Bush. No accountability.
The legendary Trane Climatough compressor, stout heart of Trane air conditioners. In a test like this, engineers have been pushing a Trane compressor to its limits, trying to make it fail. They've been trying and trying for over 20 years. Designed, tested, and manufactured to last. It's hard to stop a Trane.
The 92 conventions. In this historic election year, one network will bring you complete coverage as the Democratic and Republican parties convene. More insight, more news, more analysis, more live reporting, more convention information than the broadcast networks combined. For convention coverage that goes beyond gavel to gavel, there's only one network to watch: CNN.
Being president is a demanding job, and a president must be temperamentally suited for the job. And I have been tested by fire, and I am the right man for that job.
Our guest is Ross Perot. In all fairness, on February 20th, 1992, one of the things you said was, "I'm not sure I'm temporarily suited for the job."
I was talking, yeah, but I was talking in terms of I like to get things done, not just talk about things.
That's right, and that made you maybe not temperamentally suited.
Except the thing I missed is the American people are tired of gridlock, they're tired of talk, they're tired of the president and Congress throwing rocks at one another every day, and they want action.
All right.
Turned out the thing that I thought might be a problem is an attraction.
An attraction?
An attraction from the American people. They want these problems fixed.
How about the thoughts that you were thin-skinned, that you were the kind of leader who, if it wasn't your way, it was no way? If the vote was 11-1 and the one was Perot, Perot wins.
No. Look at everything that's been written about me over the years. See, I became autocratic and thin-skinned right after this started. This is what you call redefining your opponent's character. This has been very carefully put together over several months. Now, when I was ahead of the poll, of the president in the polls, they panicked and decided they had to pull the string, and that's what you see here in the last few days, and it's not working. Now, let's go back. Everybody said that when it got rough, I couldn't take it, right? Well, I think it's pretty rough now, and I'm not sitting here trembling with my teeth chattering, scared to death. Larry, this is not rough. Rough is being 55 years old and having your company that you work for go out of business and being out of work and losing your house and not being able to send your children to school. That's rough. Being in an iron lung all your life is rough. Going out on the battlefield as a young person and losing a part of your body and having to get through life without it for the rest of your life, that's rough. Being a mother whose husband is gone, who has to get up in the morning, cook breakfast, get the children to school, work all day, come home, cook supper, fix the house, help them with their homework, and go to bed at night, that's rough. This is child's play compared to the realities of rough.
Are you going to come out with a platform, a program?
Yes.
A set of principles?
Absolutely, absolutely, when it's done. Now, the point, no, but no, wait a minute.
When might that be?
But now, what is the president's economic platform? If he has it, I'm not aware of it.
Well, he's had some bills in Congress.
That's not an economic platform, and they all got shot down. So what is the plan for the future? Governor Clinton came out with his in the last few days. Now then, these fellows have been in politics all their adult lives. I just got into this game about 90 days ago. I've been buried with the volunteers, getting the 50 states organized, that going. We're working on this, and we will have it for the American people months before November. They can look at it and react to it.
Months before November?
Of course.
Are you going to have a convention?
We will have something special. We're working on it now. We haven't said what it is, but we will do something.
An event?
Yes. And
convention-like event?
I'm not sure, see, because ours is a different situation. But the volunteers feel very strongly we should do something like that, so they're planning it now, and I'm certainly we will.
I mean, will you bring them together from all 50 states?
Well, they're working on that. See, this comes from them. Now, contrast that to the multi-million-dollar podium that's being constructed at each of the two conventions. Contrast what they're working on to the two political conventions that are paid for with taxpayer money. See, only in America do you find the contrast. When the volunteers do something, they use brains, wits, creative ability, as opposed to millions and millions and millions of dollars of taxpayers' money because they don't have it.
Are you talking to individuals about the vice presidency?
We are working very carefully to select a very strong, qualified person for that position.
Are you talking?
I don't say any more than that right now.
Might that be announced at that get-together months before the election?
I'm not sure where we would announce it then or at another time. Again, I would consult with the volunteers across the country. We would figure out what to do and try to announce it at the appropriate time.
Will that someone, as you said last time, not be a suit, who will be able to be president immediately? And is it also true you want that someone to be a working vice president, sort of like a chief of staff in the White House?
I would. One of the tests I would apply is, could this person be chief of staff? Chief of staff probably knows more about what's going on than anyone except the president. And if something should happen to the president and the vice president had the ability to do that executive job, then he or she would be immediately qualified to step in. That's the logic.
Any other prerequisite, like do they have to have been elected to office?
No.
None of that.
No artificial barriers in terms of race, sex, prior political experience, etc. We're looking for the most qualified person.
You haven't been heard from, to my knowledge, on Mr. Quayle and moral values and the complaint about Murphy Brown. What are your thoughts?
I think I will skip Murphy Brown and Sister Soldier and hopefully stick to the nation's major business. Now,
all right, does the president have to offer moral leadership?
Oh, yes, that's different. I think it's fine to discuss moral and ethical standards.
Family values.
I think that, and I wonder why they waited till election to start. No, I think it's fine to discuss them directly. The importance of a strong moral, ethical base. I've talked about that for years. I don't hear much about that until campaign time. These folks have had 4 years to get into that and make an issue out of it. But I think it's a mistake to use television characters or rappers or entertainers to make your point. I suggest that you just go straight to the point, because then you get all the controversy around the show. Now, my favorite, Larry, is a cartoon that shows all these people looking, saying, at television, and one person says, "I'm amazed the Republican can't understand the Murphy Brown phenomena, because it has everything to do with ratings, and that's all they worry about."
We'll be back with Ross Perot and your phone calls after this.
Mr. Perot apparently believes that the draconian quick fixes will rid the nation of drugs. He has talked about cordoning off entire inner city neighborhoods and treating all who live there as guilty until proven innocent. He says we ought to declare civil war. He advocates reckless, Wild West, covert operations. And he apparently regards the Bill of Rights as little more than an antique inconvenience.
If you're under a physician's care for high blood pressure, ulcers, or asthma, then your choice of a non-prescription pain reliever is especially important. For millions of people like you, the one doctors recommend most is Tylenol.
Gas pressure means pain and bloating. And the way doctors see it, your best choice for relief is Mylanta Gas. It has the best medicine for gas.
It's the best of television with Louis Anderson. This summer, TBS brings you the very best episodes of your all-time favorite TV shows. It's the best of television, beginning at 7 Eastern, Sunday night, only on TBS.
Welcome back to Larry King Live. We're going to go to your phone calls in about 5 minutes. We won't neglect you. Our guest is Ross Perot, but I want to let him comment on what the former governor of Florida, the drug czar, Bob Martinez, said about your disregarding the Constitution with regard to drug violators. No subpoenas, just into the house, cordon off areas, etc.
Well, I can't stop him from making up stories.
You never said that.
I have the highest regard for the Constitution. I have the highest regard for civil rights. This is one of those odd things that floats around, and I have said again and again and again and again that it is incorrect.
Was it out of context? What happened?
Absolutely. Well, basically, I was in a meeting with Dallas police officers and the press when this idea was discussed, and I was in the room.
To cordon off an area?
No, it was discussed as a possibility in that giant meeting.
Go into people's homes?
No, it's very general. I'm sitting in the room.
All right.
Okay. Then a reporter who was not sitting in the room called me and went through this whole scenario and said, "What do you think about that?" And I said, well, if you ever considered doing something like that, you would have to build a very, very strong consensus that it made sense. End of statement. Now then, these fantasy land stories I just can't control. Now, if you go through what he just said, it's a series of incorrect, inaccurate statements by a cabinet-level official, and I think it's more of an expression of panic than anything else. I certainly follow the law. I live in the center of the field of ethical behavior. I meticulously obey the laws. And on the other hand, I do feel very strongly we can never be a great country as long as we have with 5% of the world's population, 50% of the world's cocaine use, et cetera, et cetera,
But you wouldn't break the law.
Of course not.
To help the law.
Of course not. Now,
when you say panic, you think the administration's panicking?
I don't know what it is, but it's silly. But if I ever let words like that come out of my mouth, then I would deserve the labels they try to pin on me. I don't act like that. I don't talk like that. The people who act like that and talk like that get away with it, but then try to blame me for things. You see what I mean? It's fascinating. I don't say and do those things. They're saying and doing those things in public, and I just find the whole thing fascinating.
I gotta get
and
a break.
silly.
Are we going to see more of your wife?
Oh, sure.
Because generally, we don't see a lot of her. People were very impressed when she appeared with Barbara Walters. We're going to see her on this program?
I imagine if you'd like for her to be here, she'll be here.
Take phone calls from people?
Oh, well, yes. Margot is lovely and would love to talk to the people.
I mean, the First Lady is part of our society.
No,
they're very
absolutely.
important to us.
And I married way over my head, and that's pretty obvious. So I'm very proud of Margot. She's a lovely lady and probably the greatest mother in America.
Are you friendly with Barbara Bush, by the way?
Have been for years.
Do you know Hillary Clinton?
I have not met her.
Do you like strong women?
Yes, I've got a house filled with them. I have 4 daughters and a wife.
Okay, enough said. We're going to take a break and come back and go to your phone calls for Ross Perot, the still undeclared presidential candidate. The last poll that we had in the New York Times is Bush 34, Perot 33, Clinton 26%. And with a margin of error, that is, as they say, too close to call. We'll be right back.
You know, a lot of men want to know more about Rogaine with minoxidil. If you're one of them, I have good news for you. Now there's a video prepared especially for men who want answers to their questions about Rogaine. Simply call 1-800-477-8996, and Upjohn will be glad to send it to you, absolutely free. Now, once you've looked at it, you'll probably want to schedule an appointment with a doctor. After all, only your doctor can prescribe Rogaine. And if you call right now, Upjohn will also send you the names of doctors in your area who can help you decide if Rogaine is right for you. You'll also receive a $10 certificate as an incentive to see your doctor. For your free videotape that gives you the complete story on Rogaine with minoxidil and your $10 certificate, call toll-free 1-800-477-8996. So what are you waiting for? Make the call today.
What do you love about writing?
You know, people laugh, but I say, well, it's not much different to me. Writing is acting. I play all the parts. I play the young parts, the old parts, the women's parts. I don't get dressed for them. I play all the parts. I said I have no director to criticize me, so I play out the scene. I think, Kirk, that's terrific. I write it down.
Uh-oh, your cat may scat, but she leaves her hair behind. Get rid of it with Power Picker-Upper by Telebrands. Power Picker-Upper picks up hair, picks up crumbs, picks up dirt. It's so strong, it'll even pick up these coins. The miracle substance ZR7 never wears out. No tape to replace, no mess to empty. Can your vacuum cleaner pick up pet hair? Power Picker-Upper never misses. Add this telescoping handle to reach high and low without bending or straining. For your clothing, you get this personal picker-upper with convenient swivel head. You also receive not one, but 2 pocket picker-uppers that fit neatly anywhere you go. You get them all for only $19.95. Order now.
To order, have your credit card ready and call 1-800-257-1257. That's 1-800-257-1257. Or send check or money order for $19.95 plus $4.50 shipping and handling to Power Picker-Upper, P.O. Box 8250, Atlanta, Georgia. Or call 1-800-257-1257.
This is CNN.
Hello, I'm Brian Christie in Atlanta. In the news, President Bush and conservative organizations are blasting the U.S. Supreme Court's decision upholding its 30-year-old ban on school prayer. A White House statement says the president was very disappointed by Wednesday's 5-4 ruling. The court majority found that allowing prayer at graduation and other school ceremonies violates the constitutional separation of church and state. 25 years after he should have graduated from high school, entertainer Billy Joel finally got his diploma Wednesday night. The singer was ineligible for it in 1967 because he had missed too many classes due to late-night performances. Officials at his Long Island school recently waived the course requirements, saying Joel has earned enough credits in life experience. I'm Brian Christie. Now back to Larry King Live.
We're back with Ross Perot. The House Judiciary Committee, by the way, is considering the appointment of a special prosecutor to investigate Iraq's use of United States credits to buy weapons months before the Gulf War. Yesterday, the Inspector General of the Commerce Department admitted that the Commerce Department erased pre-war records of military-related exports to Iraq, but denied high-level cover-up by the Bush administration. The reason we mention that, on January 11th, 1991, you, Ross Perot, appeared on this program trying to get people to call on members of Congress to prevent United States military conflict in Iraq. On that show, you made an allegation that the Bush administration was too chummy with Iraq. You so angered Commerce Secretary Robert Mosbacher that he called into the show, and here is part of that exchange that night. Listen.
After August, Commerce Department, State Department bent over backward to send a supercomputer to an Iraqi front company in Brazil that was on the way to Iraq. You think that's in the national interest?
Ross, no more than when you agreed not to sell anything to compete with your former company that you tried to get in and sell things to the state of Texas. So let's not get into personal views like that. I'm talking about what's best for this country.
Wait a minute, Bob. Let's come to
as
this.
Against,
Can we stay on the issue?
I'm not going to attack you.
No, I'm not attacking anybody, but I've really wondered why we tried to ship them a supercomputer through a Brazilian Iraqi front company so they could continue nuclear research after we decided we want to take it out.
Did we do that for Iraq? Is that what you're saying?
We did.
Did we do that, Bob?
At an earlier time, we did a lot of things for Iraq. All of us did, because we were fighting Iran. We said a lot of things to Iraq in earlier times, and I don't have that 20/20 hindsight like you do. That I knew, it wasn't even in my time there, that it was the wrong thing to do. At that time, we were worrying about Iran more than Iraq.
Bob, I'm talking about after August.
You're right. We should not have 5 years ago sent anything to Iraq.
But
that is not what
I'm
we're
saying
talking about
after
tonight.
August of 1990, Bob.
No, that's wrong.
Remember that night?
Oh, yes. Now,
you think you're going to be vindicated on that?
Well, I don't want to be vindicated. Basically, people make mistakes. What I would like and what the American people would like is when government officials make mistakes, they just say, I blew it. Right. It's pretty simple, right? Now, the facts are, all of these things occurred. Now, after we talked about them, they've been written up extensively in the New York Times. Reader's Digest had huge stories on it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Then U.S. News and World Report did a 10-year litany here just a few weeks ago.
Do you want Mr. Mosbacher to apologize to you?
No.
To the country?
No. I like to learn from adverse experience. I suggest that all these fellows quit covering up. I suggest that they quit living in a fantasy land and an image land and say, look, this went well, this went poorly, we made mistakes here, we learned from this, let's go forward.
If you were president, that's what you do?
Absolutely,
okay.
And because this is the American people's country. This is their money. These are their sons and daughters on the battlefield. They understand that leaders make mistakes. They don't understand leaders who cover up. Now, we've got cover-up going on that's just sick.
Let me go to phone calls, and we understand that we have on the phone the chairman of the Republican National Committee, Rich Bond. Is that you, Rich?
Hey, Larry, how are you?
How are you?
I'm good.
I guess you know Ross.
I do. Hey, Mr. Perot.
Have we ever met?
Hey, I'm glad to have the opportunity to try to clear the air with you here tonight.
Go ahead, Rich.
I feel you've made some very wild and unsubstantiated charges about dirty tricks by the Republican Party over the last couple of months. Now, these charges are simply untrue. They are fiction, and they are fantasy. And I want to ask you directly tonight, on behalf of the millions of members of the Republican Party of the United States, do you have one shred of evidence? Do you have any proof right now to back up your allegations of dirty tricks?
Oh, sure. I've got more than I need, and at the right point in time, if you guys keep it up, I'll cover it. I'll cover it in great...
Why not show it?
This is not the time and place. When I'm ready, I'll do it. I'll pick my time. I'll pick my place. Now, you're telling me you don't have a huge number of people in opposition research. You're telling me you don't have a huge number of people going through every shred of evidence they can find about anything relating to me. You don't have anything like that. That's what you're telling the American people, Rich.
Rich?
So come on, you think...
Now, I'm saying, do you or don't you? Now, wait, do you...
The dirty trick is repeating your own words back to you?
No, I'm saying, do you or don't you?
Mr. Perot, it's not a dirty trick to track your words and evaluate your contradictions out there, which is what you deal with every day with the American people.
Is it a dirty trick to distort the truth?
Mr. Perot,
is it a dirty trick to lie?
No desire to distort the truth.
Well, wait a minute. You called in. If you don't have the... Wait a minute. You called in. You wanted to climb in the ring.
Because of time, Rob and Rich, you're on the phone, so it's a disadvantage. Can you give me an example, Rich, of something that you broke that is the truth, that Mr. Perot is saying was a dirty trick and didn't happen?
All I can say is that Mr. Perot has made broad accusations against the Republican Party, which is the institution that I lead.
Yeah, but they were in response to your accusations, right?
Larry, he has no substantiation, and he knows it. He has not one shred of proof to offer that the Republican Party has engaged in dirty tricks. Now, Mr. Perot, and I respect you, okay? And I like what you said about your high regard for the Constitution. But in my America, Mr. Perot, people are innocent until they're proven guilty. Now, I'm just asking you right now, can you offer one shred of proof that the Republican Party is engaged in dirty tricks?
Yeah, I can spend till midnight, but... Well, because I'm not going to do what you want done on your terms. I'll do it on my terms when I think it best serves my purposes. But I'm delighted that you're on the record now. And I'm delighted that we have this transcript, and we've got the same record on you that we had on Mosbacher. And I think it'll be fascinating over the coming months. But the thing that I think the American people and anybody that's listening, it's obvious. Number one, you won't come up with a single specific. Larry asked you to. You ducked that. Number two, you ducked all over the place about how big your opposition dirty tricks team is and where it's located, and who runs it, and who they... Well, oh, give me a break. Who runs it, and who they report directly to, et cetera, et cetera. You've got a problem, and that is half your people that do this, spend half their time boasting about it, and half the people they boast to call me. Then they call reporters, and they do that in kind of a third-rate way. And on any given day, I'll have 6 reporters call me in 5 minutes after you send them the message of the day. Half of them will call laughing, saying this is from your dirty tricks department. So I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. Maybe you don't know it's there. Maybe you don't know it's there. And I've seen big organizations that sometimes didn't know what was going on. But believe me, it's alive and well. And it just comes up with one fairy tale after another, poorly constructed.
Is it possible you don't know it's there and it's there?
This is a kinder, gentler Perot.
Can we put away one thing, though, tonight? Can we say that Mr. Perot has safely answered the charge about investigating the children?
Oh, I wasn't even talking about that. The Washington.
Well, which one are you talking about?
Story.
Well, wait, pick one. Pick one.
Story, Perot. It's freedom of speech. In case I need to remind you, the Republican Party didn't print that story. The Washington Post.
Okay, what, Rich? Though it's fair to ask, what story about Mr. Perot is true that is not a dirty trick that your party found out?
We haven't broken one story, Mr. Perot. Name one.
Okay. He says they haven't broken any.
No, well, he's living in...
You're saying this is happening?
He's living in an isolation booth. Larry, I'm going to pick my time. I don't respond to a competitor on his terms. I will wait and wait and wait, and at the right time and the right place, I'll do it. And then we will cover this, and then we will have his transcript, and we will have his words. And Rich, he's got to be in the same interesting position that Secretary of Commerce is in tonight.
And Rich, you are answering flatly there is no such a group in the party.
There is no such thing as dirty tricks at this Republican...
Well, wait a minute. Opposition research. Wait a minute. What about opposition research?
Bro, I listen patiently to you, and I'm just simply responding that we're not doing dirty tricks against Ross Perot or anybody.
But you're ducking on opposition research.
Rich, I'm going to have to cut because we've got limited time here, and I got to get some other callers in, but we'll have Rich Bond on this program frequently as we cover all this political scene. This is Larry King Live. Don't go away.
This could be real life. This could be someone's wife, or daughter, or sister. Or this could be you, because this could happen to anyone. In recent years, there have been nearly 1 million assaults annually, and statistics show it's not getting any better. It's getting worse. But there is a product that might help even the odds. Original Mace. Now legally available, Mace is easy to carry and easy to use. Carry Mace, and you'll feel an added sense of security. In over 20 years of use, it's never caused permanent injury, yet one spray can instantly stop an assailant for up to 20 minutes. Mace shoots a powerful stream up to 12 feet. Any upper body contact causes severe tearing, shortness of breath, and disorientation. There's good reason mace is used by the military, why it's endorsed by the National Association of Police, and recommended by the American Rape Prevention Association. For an added sense of security, carry mace, just in case.
For rush delivery of mace for yourself or loved ones, call 1-800-952-3434 or order one for $19.95 or three for $16.95 for each unit and save $9. Call 1-800-952-3434. Do it now.
She gets the job, but there's hell to pay. The men don't want her there. We'll meet women who face sexual harassment in non-traditional jobs today on Sonia Live, 1 p.m. Eastern, only on CNN.
The only reason, by the way, that Rich Braun was cut there because we do have time limitations, so we got to move through a lot here tonight, but you will see all sides on this program throughout this campaign. And we'll be broadcasting, by the way, from the Democratic and Republican conventions and the Perot whatever, if there is, well, there will be a Perot, whatever the Perot is. During the conventions, this program will be on at 5 o'clock Eastern time, because at 9 o'clock, of course, they are at the podium, which Mr. Perot referred to earlier. Tomorrow night, William Barr is here, the Attorney General. Next Tuesday night, a special edition of Larry King Live with some key people who are leaving the Congress because they're, for want of a better term, fed up with it all. Senator Warren Rudman, Republican of New Hampshire, Senator Tim Wirth, Democrat of Colorado. They'll be among the panelists next Tuesday night. Before we take the next call, you have any comment on all these people leaving?
Well, there are a lot of great people, and the sad comment is, see, these are people of action. These are people typically who want to do things that need to be done for our country, and they're tired of gridlock. They're just like the folks out there that are volunteering. They want to see the country put back on the road. They want to rebuild this great country.
Are you an admirer of Mr. Rudman and Mr.
Yes.
Wirth?
Oh, sure. They're all fine people.
Alexandria, Virginia, for Ross Perot. Hello.
Hi, Larry.
Hi.
Oh, it's great to say hello to the next president of the United States.
Do you have a question?
I've been out here getting petitions signed for you. I love you.
Thank you.
I want to say that would you consider Jesse Jackson for VP? I think it might help to pull the country together.
No, there's a lot of talented people out there, and as I've said before, without any regard to any criteria except just picking the best and most qualified person. And the one thing I always solicit from people is their ideas, and I welcome that idea.
So you're not saying no or yes on anybody?
I can't say no or yes to anybody, and by no means does that mean that I don't feel that a person should be on the short list. So don't read anything into it. I just can't start down that trail or I'll never get off of it.
Los Angeles for Ross Perot. Hello.
Yes, good evening, Larry. Hi, Mr. Perot. How are you?
Great.
Terrific. I'm a native Texan and have been on your bandwagon since 1978 as a loyal and devout supporter. However, it is with great deliberating that I have to address, are your Dallas people keeping the truth from you about what is going on out here in the Los Angeles executive branch with the systematic elimination of very capable and talented women within this volunteer movement out here? We spoke with one of your representatives from Dallas, flew out here last weekend. We had a meeting with her and the state chair, and needless to say, nothing has been done. We have tried repeatedly to reach you and have been eliminated in every way possible. And frankly, Mr. Perot, we were only trying to help you and protect you.
Do me a favor. I'll be back in the office Friday. Call me Friday. I'll get right into it. I really appreciate this. As you know, these are huge organizations in all 50 states. Things like this do occur, but in all of my business career and all my dealings with other people, there's nothing more important to me than the individual. And I really appreciate your calling in. And if you'll call my office Friday, you'll get through. I promise. I'll be there. We'll talk. I'll get right into it because there's nothing more important than you. Thank you.
You think you're going to do well with women? Thus far, your high skew is with men, right? And as they break down these polls?
Again, see, I don't break it down that way. In terms of my concern for all people and certainly my concern for women, it's there. There's a long record.
So you think you'll do well?
That's up to the women.
Panama City, Panama for Ross Perot.
Good evening, Larry. How you doing?
Fine.
Hi, Mr. Perot.
How are you, sir?
Fine, fine. I'm calling and asking you the following question. I was very impressed with the letter that you received from Mr. Bush during the Noriega thing in Panama and stuff like that. My question is, did you know that when Panama was invaded, the United States didn't protect the private businesses in Panama, and there was looting going on even under the eyes of the Army people.
What's the question?
The question is, if when you become president, if you do, or do you think there's any consideration of those matters?
You mean like repayment to the people who were damaged?
Exactly.
Ross?
I would have to study that issue. I'm not familiar with it. It was my understanding that our government had gone in and helped do that and had acted in a responsible way. But I am not familiar with that problem. But if I'm ever in a position of power to look into it, I certainly will look into it and make sure that we do the fair thing.
Are you saying if you learned it were irresponsible, you would attempt to make amends?
The point is, winning a war is one thing. Winning the peace is the important thing.
That
After the war,
that was a taking of a...
Call it what you want to. People died. From the point of view of the guys that got blown to pieces, it was World War II. It was Normandy Beach, right? Those SEALs out there at the airport, all those great guys that really took the heat, and just again and again and again, from the great young people that I happen to know who walk around with parts of their bodies missing, that was war. Now, then, it's very important to win the peace. See, we have the world's worst record. After the shooting stops, of going in there and making sure that we develop the long-term friendships. This costs next to nothing to help get Panama back on its feet.
This man shouldn't be angry.
No, again, I don't know who he is, I don't know his circumstances.
I realize that, but what you're saying is he should...
See, my whole life is dedicated to the individual. And do you remember the old hymnal, his eyes on the sparrow, and I know he thinks of me? In other words, every single person is important. Here's a person who has a problem. And so, certainly, I'm concerned for him. And if we destroyed his business, and if, we didn't help him repair the damage and what have you, I think it's something we should get into.
That's what I'm trying to get to. We'll be right back with Ross Perot on Larry King Live. Tomorrow night, the Attorney General of the United States, William Barr. Don't go away.
It would be a serious mistake to replace a genuine statesman with a temperamental tycoon who has contempt for the Constitution of the United States.
To achieve your ultimate potential, we introduce the Nordic Flex Gold, the breakthrough in strength training technology that makes all other machines obsolete, including SoloFlex. Nordic Flex Gold is 5 ways better than SoloFlex. Nordic Flex Gold simulates the linear motion of free weights, maximizing your workout. In contrast, SoloFlex uses a less effective arcing motion, which can pull your body out of the correct workout position. Nordic Flex Gold has isokinetic resistance to match your natural strength curve. Your body is stronger at certain points of the stroke and weaker at others. The isokinetic resistance of Nordic Flex Gold accommodates these differences, supplying the most resistance when you are strongest and the least when you are weakest. So you get maximum resistance throughout the entire range of motion and maximum results. On a SoloFlex, the resistance simply increases as the rubber band stretches. It does not match your natural strength curve, so your workout is less efficient. Nordic Flex Gold's isokinetic resistance also gives you speed and convenience. You quickly move between exercises without changing steel plates or rubber bands. With Nordic Flex Gold, changeover between exercises is up to 40% faster than SoloFlex. Only Nordic Flex Gold has an electronic feedback system to tell you the number of reps and how much weight you've lifted. With SoloFlex, an electronic performance monitor is simply not available. And Nordic Flex Gold is a better value. Nordic Flex Gold costs only $999 complete. A SoloFlex costs $1,000, and to get the leg and butterfly attachments costs you an extra $500. Nordic Flex Gold, a better workout, faster and more effective for 1/3 less money. The comparison is clear, the choice is obvious. Call now to order your Nordic Flex Gold, the ultimate strength training machine for the ultimate body.
We're running short on time. You want to respond to temperamental tycoon? Mr. Quayle said.
Well, again, this is just another slur, unsupported by any facts.
You are not a temperamental. You are a tycoon.
No, well, but this, this is just a slur. Now, interestingly enough, see, it's all right, I guess, if you're in office to do this to other people. If anything like that ever came out of my mouth, then it would be, see, there he is. He is thin-skinned. He is a person that will say negative.
So you will not criticize Mr.
No,
Quayle?
but the point is, this is what's wrong with American politics. And I find it fascinating that if you're in office, you can say anything about anybody, anytime, and everybody just kind of genuflects. But if you're not in office, you're expected never to ever say anything like that.
We haven't mentioned
has nothing to do with running the country.
We haven't mentioned Mr. Clinton tonight. Has he gained from this?
I don't know.
I'm
not an authority on this.
Bailey's Crossroads, Virginia. Hello.
Hello, Mr. Perot. My question is, if the election is thrown into the House of Representatives, how do you feel each congressman should vote?
Fair question.
I think the congressman will follow the will of the people in their state.
District or state?
District, certainly. The congressman.
How your district voted is how you should vote.
The congressman will be very sensitive to their districts. Yes, sir.
We'll be back with our remaining moments with Ross Perot, a couple of other key questions. Don't go away.
Can you tell the difference between these contact lenses? They're the same brand, same prescription, but this lens cost 50% less and was delivered right to my home. That's the Lens Express difference.
Save on brand name contacts, daily wear, extended wear, disposables, and others.
I wouldn't trust these baby blues to just anyone. Call Lens Express. They're terrific.
Now you can replace your contacts and save. Call for a free Lens Express catalog.
TNT's favorite movies, Summer Edition. This week, our favorite investigator, Geraldo Rivera, hosts one of our favorite movies, Anatomy of a Murder. Tonight on TNT.
Looks like for the launch of the space shuttle, the news is not good, at least in the forecast, and some of the models indicate that once again, you could see the showers just kind of stream in across the entire Florida peninsula because of a tropical disturbance in the northwestern Gulf of Mexico, sending tons of moisture into the state of Florida, like at Manatee County, where they've seen about 10 inches of rainfall. We're keeping the moisture all the way across the northern Rockies, the central plains, the central Mississippi Valley. This will be the troublesome area. How about some high temperatures? Chicago 78, San Antonio 95, and in Portland, Oregon, just about 88. Now these forecasts.
Quickly for Ross Perot, Rotterdam, Holland. Hello.
Hello, Mr. Perot. The vast majority of European countries hold the opinion that within a civilized society, there's no room for such a thing as the death penalty. Do you agree with this view? And if you don't, why do you think the European countries are confused?
You ever thought on the death penalty? He said most European countries are opposed to the death penalty.
I think all of us feel that each human life is precious. On the other hand, if a person violently takes the life of another, and we certainly have that problem in our country now, we have got to have a level of punishment that causes a person, even if he's drunk or on drugs or what have you, to at least have something in his head that clears his head to the point where he will think before acting. Sadly enough, we live in a country now where we have drive-by shootings of total strangers. And most back to basic moral values is respect for human life. This should be a tiny problem. Unfortunately, it's a major problem in our country. We have to have strong deterrence. Sad case, but that's where we are.
About a month and a half ago, I was in Israel. I went into Yitzhak Rabin's office. I met all the leadership there, and he is now the prime minister. And the first thing he said to me was, "Hello, is Ross Perot our friend? I think he is. In my heart, I feel he's a friend of Israel." Is he?
Yes.
Yes, you are a friend of Israel.
Israel has been our friend for years. Israel is our friend. Israel showed enormous restraint during the Persian Gulf War, and certainly our bonds with Israel go back many, many years. Now, the other countries in the Middle East are our friends also, and our responsibility is to do everything we can to responsibly assist to bring stability in the Middle East. But is Israel a friend? They've proved that 1,000 times.
Would you go there?
I've been there, had the privilege of meeting Mrs. Meyer, had the privilege of meeting General Sharon.
I mean, would you go as president?
Yeah, no, but I'm saying I had the privilege, and that's the word I would use, of meeting Golda Meir, which is one of the great moments of my life. And certainly, I would, now I will be out of Washington most of the time, but most of the time when I'm out of Washington, it'll be out there in America rebuilding our country. We have got to rebuild our industrial engine. That is the highest priority. Now, it's just as simple, Larry. from my point of view, the American people need to listen to all this stuff that goes on day after day after day. And then in November, they need to pick the person that they feel will rebuild their country, will allow this country to pass on the American dream to their children. And it's very important at this point in our history to pick someone who will do it. Whoever they feel can best do it, as opposed to create images, create propaganda, create sound bites, create illusions. Pick someone who will just go do it with them. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on this edition of Larry King Overnight, a repeat of Larry King Live. We are with you every night, Monday through Friday at 9 Eastern, and then at 1 a.m. Pacific Time, the program repeated in its entirety. Tonight's guest, Ross Perot. Tomorrow night, the Attorney General of the United States, William Barr. And next Tuesday, 4 people who are leaving the House and Senate. Thanks for joining us, and good morning.